Right now, on this entire planet, there is exactly one kind of human. That feels normal to us. It has never once felt strange to be the only ones. But for almost all of human history, that wasn't true. Other kinds of humans existed alongside us. Different bodies, different brains, different ways of solving the same impossible problem. How to stay alive on a planet that kept changing the rules. And one by one, they vanished. Not in a single event. Not in one dramatic ending. Quietly, over thousands of years, until only one branch of the family was left standing. So what actually happened to them? And more uncomfortably, what does that say about us? Start with the one that lasted the longest. Long before modern humans existed, a species walked upright across 3 continents, hunted with simple stone tools, and survived ice ages, droughts, and shifting coastlines for well over 1 million years. To put that in perspective, if you lined up every human civilization that has ever existed, every pyramid, every empire, every war, it would barely register next to how long this species endured. And yet, eventually, their last surviving groups became isolated on a shrinking patch of land, cut off from the rest of the world, with nowhere left to go. Long survival didn't guarantee permanent survival. It just meant they had more time before the ending finally arrived. Then there's the species most people think they already understand, and mostly don't. For a long time, they were imagined as slow, brutish, barely capable. That picture was wrong. They built fires, made tools, cared for injured group members who couldn't have survived alone, and lived successfully through some of the harshest climates our planet has ever produced. They weren't a failed attempt at being human. They were a different, fully functional answer to the same question. For hundreds of thousands of years, that answer worked. Then modern humans began moving into their territory. And within a relatively short window of time, they were gone. The easy explanation is that we simply defeated them. But the real picture is messier and stranger. Their populations were already small and scattered. Small populations are fragile. A harsh winter, a failed hunting season, a slow decline in births can be enough to end a group that would otherwise have kept going. On top of that, the climate itself kept shifting beneath their feet, forcing constant adaptation. And then, into that already unstable situation, arrived another human population, one with wider social connections, faster spreading ideas, and the ability to share solutions across long distances. Not necessarily smarter, just more connected. Their disappearance likely wasn't one dramatic loss. It was the slow accumulation of 1,000 small disadvantages, compounding until there simply weren't enough of them left to continue. Some species left behind almost nothing at all. One entire branch of the human family was discovered not through skeletons or tools, but through a single finger bone small enough to fit in your palm. When scientists tested its DNA, it matched nothing known. Not us. Not the cold-adapted cousins we already knew about. Something else entirely, a population that may have spread across a huge stretch of Asia, yet left behind almost no physical trace. And still, their influence didn't disappear completely. Certain populations living at extreme high altitude today carry a gene inherited directly from this vanished group, one that helps their bodies function in air too thin for most humans to breathe comfortably. A species we can barely find in the ground is still quietly shaping how living people survive today. Then there's the strangest case of all. On a remote island, evolution took an entirely different path. Isolated from the mainland for hundreds of thousands of years, one population shrank dramatically in size, full-grown adults standing barely over 1 meter tall, with small but functional brains. And yet they made tools. They hunted animals far larger than themselves. They survived in an environment shaped by giant reptiles and dwarfed elephants, on an island that rewrote every assumption about what intelligence requires. Their story ends around the same time modern humans are believed to have reached the region. On a small island, you don't need a massive catastrophe to end a species. A shrinking food source, a shifting environment, a run of bad seasons, that alone can be enough when there's nowhere else to go. So why, out of all these different experiments in being human, did only one survive? The obvious answer is intelligence. But that explanation collapses almost immediately, because every one of these other species was intelligent in its own right, resourceful, socially complex, capable of surviving conditions that would overwhelm most people today. The more compelling explanation is connection. Not the intelligence of any single person, but the ability to link many people together, sharing discoveries, spreading solutions, carrying knowledge forward even after the individuals who first learned it were gone. When one small group failed, the information they'd gathered didn't have to die with them. It had already traveled elsewhere. That kind of network doesn't just help you survive hardship. It helps you absorb it, adapt, and keep going while more isolated populations quietly run out of options. But even that isn't the whole story. Timing mattered. Geography mattered. Simple luck mattered. Being in the right region, with the right numbers, at the right moment in a constantly shifting world. These other species weren't rough drafts of us, waiting to be improved into something better. They were their own complete answers to the same impossible question, each one succeeding for extraordinary stretches of time before finally running out of room to adapt. Today, when we say human, we only mean one thing, because every other version of that word eventually disappeared. We're not standing at the top of some evolutionary ladder. We're simply the last surviving branch of a tree that once had many living branches beside it. And maybe that's worth remembering the next time permanence feels guaranteed, because every other branch once felt permanent too, right up until the moment it wasn't.